The stress of stress incontinence and what you can do about it. Stress incontinence is something that isn't talked about much. It feels too private, too personal. But if women were being truly open and honest, many, especially those who have had children or are in their later years, would admit that it affects them in some way. Maybe you leak when you cough or sneeze. Maybe you avoid running, trampolining, or skipping. Perhaps you've noticed that you need to be extra careful when lifting heavy objects, or even laughing too hard. For some, it's an occasional annoyance. For others, it can impact daily life in a profound way. A UK study found that around 40% of women experience urinary incontinence, with around 8.5% suffering from significant symptoms. In the US, research suggests that 62% of women aged 20 and over experience some form of urinary incontinence, with stress incontinence being the most common type. It's not just an issue for older women. It can affect anyone, especially those who've been through pregnancy and childbirth. And yet, despite how widespread it is, stress incontinence is rarely discussed. Too many women assume it's just a part of aging or motherhood, something you have to put up with, but that's not the case. There are things you can do to improve your symptoms, and that's why I'm so excited to share Helen Hall's online course on stress incontinence. Helen is a movement specialist I greatly admire, and her course is a brilliant resource for women who want to take control of their pelvic health. What is stress incontinence? The NICE guidelines define stress urinary incontinence, or SUI, as involuntary leakage on effort, exertion, sneezing, or coughing. But it can also happen during activities like laughing, jumping, or even bending down to pick something up. SUI occurs when the support system around the urethra, the urethral sphincter, pelvic floor muscles, and connective tissues is weakened or damaged. This reduces the ability of the urethra to stay closed during any activity that increases pressure in the abdomen. What causes stress incontinence? There are several risk factors for SUI, including pregnancy, childbirth, and vaginal delivery. The muscles and connective tissues of the pelvic floor are stretched and sometimes damaged during childbirth. Obesity. Carrying extra weight puts added strain on the pelvic structures. High-impact activities. Running, jumping, or other intense physical activities can weaken pelvic support structures over time. Pelvic or vaginal surgeries. Procedures such as a hysterectomy can impact the strength of the pelvic floor. Genetics. If your mother or grandmother had stress incontinence, you may be more prone to it. Constipation. Regular straining can weaken pelvic floor muscles. Smoking. Chronic coughing associated with smoking can contribute to SUI. Menopause. Lower estrogen levels can weaken the tissues that support the bladder and urethra. Certain medications. Some medications, such as ACE inhibitors, which can cause a chronic cough, can make stress incontinence worse. The impact of stress incontinence on daily life. The effects of stress incontinence go far beyond occasional leaks. For many women, it has an emotional, social, and financial impact. Embarrassment and anxiety. Constantly worrying about leakage can affect self-confidence and mental well-being. Avoidance of activities. Many women stop exercising or engaging in activities they once loved. Social withdrawal. Fear of leakage in public can lead to avoiding social events. Sleep disturbance. Some women wake frequently to use the toilet or suffer from nocturia, waking multiple times in the night to urinate. Financial costs. Buying pads, absorbent underwear, or even replacing clothes more often can add up. But here's the good news. You can do something about it. Many women believe stress incontinence is an inevitable part of ageing, but this simply isn't true. The NICE guidelines highlight that, if left untreated, incontinence can lead to complications such as anxiety, depression, and skin problems. Seeking help can make a real difference, and treatment doesn't have to mean surgery or medication. The first step is often lifestyle changes, such as maintaining a healthy weight to reduce pressure on the bladder, quitting smoking to avoid a chronic cough that strains the pelvic floor, managing fluid intake, not too much, not too little, and reducing caffeine or alcohol if necessary, treating constipation to avoid straining. The next step is learning how to properly strengthen and coordinate your pelvic floor muscles. Are you doing your pelvic floor exercises correctly? You might already be familiar with pelvic floor exercises, often called Kegels. But are you doing them correctly? Many women aren't. I was taught to contract and hold, and as a chartered physiotherapist, I assumed I was doing them right. But it wasn't until I learned from Helen Hall's work that I realised I'd been doing them wrong for years. Helen explains that simply clenching and holding increases intra-abdominal pressure and may actually make things worse. Instead, pelvic floor exercises need to be coordinated with your breathing. As you breathe out, contract your pelvic floor muscles, and as you breathe in, relax them. This simple shift can make a profound difference. How movement affects your pelvic floor. One of the most eye-opening parts of Helen's course is how she connects pelvic floor function with the way we move, especially the way we walk. If your movement patterns are causing unnecessary strain on your pelvic floor, no amount of Kegels will fix the problem. Through Helen's course, you'll learn how to integrate breath, posture, and movement to support your pelvic floor in daily life. She provides simple yet powerful exercises that can be done lying down, sitting, or even while walking. Take control of your pelvic health. Only 17% of women affected by urinary incontinence seek help, which means too many women are suffering in silence. You don't have to accept stress incontinence as an inevitable part of life. There are practical, evidence-based strategies that can help, and Helen Hall's course provides exactly that. If you're tired of avoiding activities you love because of leaks, planning your day around toilet stops, feeling embarrassed or anxious about incontinence, then I highly recommend Helen's Stress Incontinence course. It's a compassionate, practical, and effective way to improve your symptoms and take back control. Let's talk about stress incontinence openly. Let's remove the shame. And, most importantly, let's take steps to improve it, because you deserve to live your life without worry. Sign up today and start your journey towards better pelvic health.